welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm Shannon Register, and today we are talking about all things staging. Got a lot of information coming your way. If you miss any of today's show, you can always find us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. So if you're driving along, don't write any of this down. You can find it online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. If you've got a real estate question, you can always send it to us using Twitter. Use hashtag HRER. We'll answer that on the air for you. And we've got a call-in number as well. It's 281-882-8088. And we'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every week at 1 o'clock here on Houston Real Estate Radio. All right, so home staging is the big thing right now when you're trying to sell your house, because we know that buyers want to see that space and buy it. It's got to feel welcoming to them. It's really one of the hottest topics, I feel, that we come in, that really everybody's just talking about. Staging. Such a big thing. We've talked about it before here on the air, and I've got the mother of home staging here on with me today. I've got Barb Schwarz. She is Skyping in from Seattle, Washington, and Barb is the one who created the ASP home staging designation, which I have and a lot of our realtors here at Register Real Estate Advisors have. So welcome to the show, Barb. It's always great to have you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you, Shannon, so much.
So let's talk about some of the seasonal things people need to do. You know, we're getting closer to the holidays, and you know, a lot of people still, they want to continue on living in the home, and they have kids and they have to continue living on in the home. So talk to us a little bit today about some of the seasonal things you can do when you need to stage your house.
Well, let's talk about the outside first.
Okay.
You know, you can stage to sell or stage to live.
And that curb appeal is important.
You're absolutely right. And so a couple of quick tips is less is more, and don't overdo. And the next would be declutter, because, again, less is more. And the power of 3 is very influential. We'll look at some pictures. And then creativity is what it's all about.
So I'm thinking you're probably opposed to those big blow-up snow globes in the front yard, huh?
Well, when you're staging to sell, for sure, because when you have too many items outside, it just causes the attention to go to the items instead of your house.
And you want them to see the house. Yeah, you know, one of the things I love at Christmas time is all the houses that have all the lights on the roof line of the house. It just frames the house so nicely. I love that.
Well, I agree with you. And as we, drive around and see houses that are for sale, some are just perfect and others are way overdone. And I'm not talking about like Candy Cane Lane, because we have that here in Seattle where the whole neighborhood, they just have, I would say, thousands and thousands of lights. That's different, and that's fabulous. When it's an individual home, though, we have some pictures to look at for different holidays that are overdone.
So let's talk about Halloween first, because Halloween's coming up. Tell us, is it okay to decorate for Halloween, or do you think that that's one that doesn't really require decorations, and you have to be careful anyway because you have these little kids coming up on the front steps? You don't want them tripping over cords. How do you feel about that?
Well, you're exactly right. You don't want people hurting themselves, and buyers are coming. So again, less is more, and the picture that your viewers are seeing is where Halloween is totally overdone. I mean, it's easy for somebody to trip over that. And I would say that the pots by the front door with the pumpkins in them and maybe a wreath on the front door, that's all you need when you are staging to sell or staging to live, and you don't want to have too much out.
So for those listening on the radio, you can watch this online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. But for right now, what Barb is referring to is having some trim around the door looks really nice. But when you start putting all those hay bales and lots of pumpkins all over the place and candles, you got to be a little careful about that.
Right. And this picture has, crows everywhere and witches and lanterns, and you have to be careful about those. For staging to sell, I wouldn't be lighting those. Again, either something around the doorway and the 2 pots, or a wreath on the front door and the 2 pots.
Do wreaths ever go out of style, or are wreaths always a good idea?
Wreaths all year round are a great idea.
What
And
about the swags? Swags are still a good idea too?
it depends on the swag.
Okay.
So, so the next picture we're going to look at, the swag is way too much for selling a house.
Okay, so not a big swag, not a lot of stuff in it like big pine cones and big stuff. You want to keep it simple.
Right, the swag in the picture is probably about 14 inches wide.
Ooh, that's big.
And, the wreath on the front door or, whatever they put on the front door would be plenty for staging to sell or even staging to live. The picture that everybody will see when they look at the website or YouTube is that it's just so heavy, the swag around the door. So keep things simple and you can still have fun.
How do you like the natural stuff versus you can go to a craft store and buy this stuff, or you can just go and kind of collect nature and use the pine cones and the corn and the more of the natural things. What do you think is better, plastic or natural?
I love natural.
Natural.
And we're going to do another segment, as you know, on seasonal inside. And we're going to look at a lot of nature and natural. And yet I have some ideas for outside here too. So,
Okay. So for some people, they hire a company just to come and decorate the house, especially at Christmas time, not so much for Thanksgiving and Halloween, but for Christmas they hire a company just to come and decorate the whole outside of it. Do you think that that's a better idea, or do you think that it's still nice to get out there and do the traditional family thing?
well, if they're going to hire anyone, they need to hire a stager to stage their property for the holidays
Mhm.
because, decorators and designers are wonderful. And yet, for the holidays, it might be overdone. And we have a picture of a white colonial house, and there are wreaths on every single window.
Is that too
And
much?
that's too
Too
much
much. Okay.
because buyers would call this the wreath house.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. No, don't put a wreath on every single window and every single door. Okay. What about candy for decorations on the sidewalks and on the front of the house? They've got candy canes, they've got all different kinds of candy themed things. What do you think about that?
Well, in this picture, they have candy canes in the front, and the eye really goes to the candy canes instead of the house. And so stand across the street safely, the curb or the neighbor's yard across the street again safely, and take a look at what you've done or going to do. And again, less is more, and have fun with it. However, you want the house to be the focus and don't overdo. So this picture, there's too many wreaths, and the candy canes, I would say go.
So let's talk about some simplistic ways to do. If you don't have a wreath for the front door, what are some other types of things that you could put on the front door that you could either make or buy and put together? What do you think? You have some ideas for our listeners?
Absolutely. This sounds like off the wall, but this is where creativity is all about. The picture that's coming up now is the end of a rake, and you just put some leaves on the inside of it and put a bow on the bottom of it and hang it on the front door. And you could put some pine cones in it, and it looks fabulous.
It's interesting. I like that. I think that would look nice on a house, on an older house, a more traditional house rather than a newer home. What other ideas do you have for front doors? Because front doors are something that people always want to they always want to put something on it, but not everybody knows what to do. Some of the wreaths that I see don't look real nice. They look very store-bought. What are some other ideas?
Right.
Anything else?
Well, lanterns, I love lanterns, and there's many things you could put on the inside of a lantern. It doesn't have to be candles. So fill it with, for example, for Halloween or Thanksgiving, with smaller pumpkins and pine cones, and they look fabulous. And I'm not talking about little teeny ones that are 3 inches high. I'm talking about the bigger lantern. You could have one on each side of the front door.
Okay.
So that's one idea.
Where could you buy lanterns like that?
Oh, yeah, great question. So many places. Now, when you go to places that are more expensive, of course, they're going to cost you more. However, you can get them at, TJ Maxx and Ross and all kinds of home goods, all kinds of stores where they have larger sizes as well that are not expensive at all.
Okay. And how do you feel about bows? Because lots of people still make bows and put them on the front door. What do you think about those?
Well, a wreath with a bow is totally appropriate for Christmas or even Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
One of the pictures that we have is where a big wreath is on the light outside the front door. And so a wreath with this on the door and then this big bow on the outdoor light is really fun to do. And that can easily be made by anyone.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to have to go to a quick break. Real fast. Tell me, what do you think about decorating pumpkins? Good idea or bad idea? Because we know they rot.
Well, one of the things is you put petroleum jelly on the inside of the pumpkin when you're going to carve it, and
Okay.
it really keeps it so it doesn't mold.
Ooh, I
Take
like that.
take Clorox of water in a spray bottle and spray on the inside.
Uh huh.
Now, let's say you don't carve them. One of the cute ideas, I think, is to take thumbtacks and make a design on the pumpkins, bigger
Uh
pumpkins,
huh.
as well as smaller ones, and we have a picture of that as well. So it's really fun to do, and it's not hard.
I like that. So you could actually print a picture and stick it on, stick it on the pumpkin, and then put all the thumbtacks in, and then tear the paper away and have your design. I like that.
Exactly,
I like
exactly.
it.
Just be creative.
All right, we'll be right back with Barb Schwarz talking about holiday decorating ideas, not but decorating for your buyers because you want to stage that home for the buyers. So we're going to be back in just a minute here on Houston Real Estate Radio.